Good morning, everyone. Okay, who's ready for a quiz? See what you remembered from yesterday. So this is context for my talk today. The three gaps that Michael McQueen talked about. There was a bunch of gaps, but there's three he pointed out. Anyone remember? Yell it out. Self-direction was one. Tenacity was the other one. Originality. Well done. Cool. Then he talked about what the things we need to reconsider. The role of the classroom, the role of the goal for learning, and the role of the teacher. Cool. So just that sets the tone. I want you to think about those 6 things today. A dare for you, a challenge, ruffle some feathers. It's the first time I've actually said this to a group of majority principals, but what the heck, let's go for it. How do we as leaders disrupt the current system of education to the point where it becomes relevant? Yes, I'm implying it's not. Don't know how you feel about that. Let's talk. I want to share a journey with you. 2015, cohort of Year 10 students, 90 of them, 15-year-olds. We had a day, the equivalent of a day of curriculum time that we needed to do something with. And if you come to my workshop, I'll explain the backstory behind that. We have a school system, in my opinion, that is increasingly irrelevant for preparing kids for the future. And we'd come up with a bunch of traditional solutions to our dilemma. We also had the privilege of working with Apple at the time, and they were really challenging us on vision and leadership. And I had a mentor, a personal mentor at the same time, who dared me to do something different.
What's wrong with my chicken? Mr. Pop.
Welcome to the DeLorean Project, the home of approximately 60 student startups to date. This is our vision. This is what we put on in our copy, on our website, etc. But I can simplify it for you. Every week, every Wednesday, for the entire school year, 1 day a week, we challenge our Year 10s to find a passion or interest area to learning, to find a team to work with, and to find a real problem to solve. That's what their Wednesdays look like, every week for the school year. Basically what we're saying is skills and capabilities are as important, and I'll suggest maybe more important, than the content you teach in other subjects. Again, maybe that doesn't sit well for you. Let's discuss at some point. What I'm saying is there's a 150-page document that Akara created around these skills and capabilities. And I wanted to ask how many people have read them, because I imagine that very few of you have actually opened that document. I didn't before this. And maybe you guys have, because you're principals and leaders and you're all over it. I would suggest that's true, but I wonder how many teachers have actually read this document. And so we're saying this is important. This should consume curriculum time. And that's where DeLorean came from. Now, we had to consider the role of the classroom, because we decided when we got the green light to do this that we wanted to teach these 90 students together at the same time in the same space. You can't do that in a traditional classroom. So we've spent 3 years working out how to design a space on a budget to effectively deliver a skills-based program, a skills and capabilities-based program. The spheres that we use, or the framework we use to negotiate student learning, this is student-driven. That sense of losing control, I can't tell you in January, February, what our curriculum looks like for 3 out of the 4 terms of the year, because it's student negotiated. I don't know what projects are going to run. I haven't created them, my team hasn't created them. The students create them. They negotiate them through these 3 spheres. The first sphere I've already alluded to, they've got to solve a real problem. So we work in the passion interest space and discussion to find a problem within that passion or interest that young people have, and they identify a problem they'd like to solve. There's then a mindset that we feel is pretty important to solve a real problem in the real world. And so we do some front-end loading around the entrepreneurial mindset that's required to solve a problem and get a solution into something tangible. And then the third sphere is around using technologies to leverage the solution that young people have come up with to the problem they want to solve. We have a couple of other key frameworks that I can't talk about in the 10 minutes now, but if you come to the workshop, I'll unpack the 3 basic areas that we front load at the beginning of our program around team dynamics, personality and communication types, and ideation and execution. How do you get an idea from your brain out into something tangible that people can see, feel, hear, smell, whatever it is. People go, well, give me some examples. So there's some on the board for you to read. Those are current projects in 2018. We have 28 of them running this year with 90 students. And there's lots there. I don't necessarily have a favorite, but read the Zopper one. I don't know where it came from, but I'm going to buy 10 of those, having 3 kids under 8 years old and never being able to find the scissors to cut the top off the Zooper Duper. It's brilliant. 15-year-old kids came up with that. We have 2 streams though. The page I just showed you, that's the Glasshouse stream. Those projects happen on campus at our location. We've partnered with the University of the Sunshine Coast as well. So up to 10 of our students each year have the opportunity to do their DeLorean projects each week at the university, doing real research with PhD candidates as a mentor. And so between those 2 streams, it's pretty exciting. We've had 17 students over 3 years engage in our USC DeLorean projects, and they're contributing to genuine research in the community. Instead of me going on about it though, I thought I'd get students to actually tell you about what they're doing this year. So JJ's in our Glasshouse stream on the left, on my left, and Liana and Paige are in the USC DeLorean stream. So let's have a listen to what they have to say.
All right, PDN conference. This video is just for you. So we've got a couple of students from the DeLorean Project 2018 with us, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat about what they're doing to give you a bit of insight into some of our current projects. JJ, what is your project? Can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch?
Yeah, sure. So basically I run a podcast called JJ Live, and I interview a variety of different people and in hope that they might share a little bit of their wisdom into how they got to where they are, if they do anything differently, and advice they have for the next generation trying to find their way in their career.
Cool. So for anyone who's interested, where can we find JJ Live?
If you guys have a podcast app or Spotify or anything, iTunes, you can find JJ Live.
Thanks, JJ. All right, over here, we've got Liana and Paige.
So I'm working with Christina Morris, and I'm working on a communications sort of research, and I'm working on a communicating with corporate social responsibility, a case study of Nigerian activist Ken Saro-Wiwa and his death, and how that sort of intervened with Shell's operations.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for my DeLorean project, I'm working with a group of about 7 to 10 people, mainly with my mentor, Samuel Phillips, and his supervisor, Adam Polkinghorn, and we're working on understanding the humoral immune responses for vaccinated koalas with current symptoms of cystitis. And basically what my job is to look at all the data and see if basically the vaccine is working the way it's meant to and producing the antibodies needed.
Cool. So research within a very specific
Yes,
field of animal biology. So when you sit down at a weekly meeting with 6 or so colleagues, they're all PhDs or PhD candidates, and you're actually sitting at the table contributing to that discussion.
Yeah, it feels so good to feel like I am part of this group and I'm not just a year 10 student. Like it feels like I'm actually being treated as an adult, more like a school student.
Yeah.
And being talked to, not at.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Last question. So is it hard work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks guys for spending time.
So there's some student perspectives. Over 3 years, we've gained some pretty interesting insights. Our biggest one is that by the time kids get to us in year 10, they don't actually believe they can achieve what we're asking them to believe. They've absolutely put a ceiling on themselves. I don't actually think we should be surprised by this, because I think our system does a great job of putting kids in boxes and saying you can only achieve certain things at certain ages and stages. I reckon we need to sort of break that down a bit and move on from that sort of idea. We've also found that kids don't know what they're passionate about a lot of the time. And that's a real struggle to have those conversations and figure out what they're passionate about. And generally, they don't have and don't value the skills and capabilities that they need for the future. Why? Because we don't put a lot of emphasis on them, and we don't grade them, we don't say they're important, and so they don't tend to care so much about them. We need to change that. Given the right circumstances, the right guidance though, hugely capable. Ridiculously capable. And I'd love to tell you more and more stories, but to hear those, you're going to have to come to the workshop. and find out about some of those successes and some of the failures as well. The other big piece that we've learned, and this is probably the biggest out of everything, is the value of genuine teacher collaboration. Not planning together and then going into your own room and teaching, but teaching in front of each other and working together in the classroom. Career changing for me and for my team, and I think definitely redefines the role of a teacher. But I want you to hear it from some of my team.
All right, PDN audience. So you'll be seeing this on Friday, which is 2 days away. It's Wednesday. This is the DeLorean team. I wanted you to meet the team quickly, and I wanted to get them to share a little bit with you. They have no idea that this is happening, and they don't even know what I'm going to ask. So it's a 30-second answer. What's the highlight of doing what we're doing? So we're halfway through the year. And what's the challenge? Truly 30 seconds.
Hey, highlight. Highlight is, for me, this is the kind of conversations I get to have with students that are totally unrelated to content that I'm dragging them to. So I get to talk to students about what they're interested in, what they're passionate about, and then different ways that we can apply understandings to that. Okay, so what skills do you need to pursue that? Who do you need to find that's going to help you? Or are you really suited to that? Are you really able to do that? You know, because we looked at personality types and things like that. So for me as a people person, I like the tough conversations. The challenge is, again, as a people person, as a teacher, I suppose the challenge is I want these kids to succeed, and we've set up DeLorean so that success doesn't look like traditional success does. And so sometimes the challenge is to keep my hands off so that they can fail and learn rather than scaffolding them along towards success, which is what, as a good teacher, I've been trained to do from day one.
Cool. All right, that was a minute. So Tanya, you're gonna show Rob.
You don't want to sell me
What 30 seconds looks like.
I'll buy someone's 30 seconds.
For me, the highlight is that this is real, it's authentic, it's not content-based, but it's life-driven. And so what we are doing here, students will actually use today, tomorrow, and in their futures. The challenge for me is motivating 15, 16-year-olds to do hard things and to do something that is in excess of what is expected of teenagers these days. So it's really incredibly frustrating. I go home at the end of the day just almost wanting to tear my hair out. I don't have all the answers, the solutions. I don't know is a common phrase that I use, but to actually know that we are doing something, and it is incredibly encouraging to just see that we are making progress.
Cool. It was still longer than 30 seconds, but it was good. All right.
Don't ask teachers to try to articulate themselves in 30 seconds is the lesson there. I want to leave you with this quote. This is what drives me when I wake up in the morning and come to school and work with my teams. And it really shakes me up every time I look at it. Heidi Hayes-Jacobs is a curriculum researcher and designer. She says this: if you're one teacher teaching one subject to one year level in one classroom, you are irrelevant to the majority of your students. Let that sit with you for just a second. So again, I'll leave you with this. How can we as leaders disrupt the current system of education to the point where it becomes relevant? If you come to my workshop, I'll unpack more of our program and talk to you about how we're dealing with the lack of capacity, backwards mapping skills and capabilities into middle school and primary school, as well as prep. Thanks very much.